What is it that you think about Buenos Aires that everybody speaks so highly of it? What is it about this place that's so special?
There is something wonderful about the people down here. And I know it's a cliche. Oh my God, all the people down here are wonderful, but they are spectacular. They are so friendly. They're very direct. They are always interested in you. They always want to know what's your story, and they're always willing to share their story. The passion that they have for, of course, football here, or soccer, the passion that they
Yeah,
have
man.
for this sport is insane.
Okay, so today I'm heading down to the beautiful country of Argentina in Buenos Aires with my new friend Paul Curley. Paul,
Mhm.
welcome to the podcast, man.
Thank you very much. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. Although it's a rainy day, so I feel like I'm back in England, quite
Oh,
frankly.
yeah.
But yeah, great to meet you, Ray.
Yeah, nice to meet you too, Paul. Well, great. Well, let's get started in this. I'm interested because everything that I've ever heard, read, and the people that I've been talking to lately about Buenos Aires, there isn't anybody that has a bad word to say about the city. So tell us what is it about Buenos Aires? What makes it special? But before you dive into that, give us a little backstory about where you're from and how you landed in BA.
Okay, so very top level headlines about me. I'm 51. I was born in Manchester in the northwest of England. Studied economics. Became a finance guy. Lived in London for 20 odd years. And then I was married in England. And then when I was 40, so 11 years ago, my then wife and I, for my 40th birthday, we came to South America. It was always a dream. We hit Rio, Iguazu, where the waterfalls are. And then we came to Buenos Aires, where we spent 4 nights.
Yeah.
And I don't know what happened in those 4 nights. It's a long time ago, but I just look at my face now. I'm grinning from ear to ear. The city just grabs you. And it might be the tango, it might be, I'll be honest, it might be the beautiful women and men that you see on the streets, the food, the steaks, all that kind of stuff. I went back to England with my now ex-wife. We had a little divorce. I spent a couple more years trying to plan what my next steps were. And I just had this hallelujah moment where I thought, I just need to change. I need to get out of England. I need to get out of London. I need to get out of my finance job. I'm no longer a corporate sort of ambitious guy. What can I do? So I did a bit of research. I thought there's a big market for teaching English as a foreign language. And a place with massive demand for that is South America. So I thought, hey, why don't I have a look about retraining as a teacher of English as a foreign language? And where can I do this? Which cities around the world? Obviously, Asia is really popular for this language, for teaching English too. But I thought, no, I want to go back and complete my dream of living in Buenos Aires. But I don't know any Spanish, and I don't know what the visa requirements are. So I did a bit of research, and I realized that the visa requirements are actually quite flexible, quite easy for
Yes.
Argentina. We'll come on to that later. And in terms of this not having any Spanish, well, of course, it's a barrier, but we're in a major international European-esque modern city, Buenos Aires. You can get by with English, although I heartily recommend that, of course, you try and catch up on Spanish as much as you can
Sure.
to enjoy it more.
Yes.
Just out of mutual respect.
Yes.
And that was it. I quit my job, and 4 months later, I was getting off a plane from London to Buenos Aires, February the 15th, to be precise, 2017, and starting my new year, my new
Wow.
life.
That is
And
that's inspiring, man.
man, I'm quite a chicken. I'm not a big, brave guy at all. I'm just like, I could have quite happily stayed at home thinking, well, I've got a job. I'm earning big money in England. I can retire in a few years. Let's not break the model. But I was bored senseless, and I knew I had to do something. I knew I had to do something. And I have absolutely zero regrets. For all of the troubles that you face when you come down to Buenos Aires, it's not an easy city,
Yeah.
but it is spectacular, and I've enjoyed it so much with all of its challenges. New friends, new experiences,
a new wife.
Yeah.
You know, it's I can't recommend it enough.
That's fantastic. That's congratulations, man. It sounds like that you really found your place. What is it that you think about Buenos Aires that everybody speaks so highly of it? What is it about this place that's so special? It's so unique. It's you know, it's way down in the bottom of South America. So most people from the US and Canada, they stick to Mexico, they might shoot down to Colombia. They trickle down to Peru to go see Machu Picchu, but a lot of people just don't make trek all the way down there. But everybody, it's like a magical place because everybody speaks so highly of it. So what is it about BA that struck you when you went down there and you're like, oh wow, and then now you're
Yeah.
living there?
So it's the beauty of the city. I mean, you know, most cities have a beautiful part of their city. You know, London has so much beauty with its old architecture. New York, blah
Yes,
blah blah. But they also have their quite unpleasant parts of their features. You know, all major cities have really ugly, troublesome
sure.
neighborhoods, and Buenos Aires is no exception. It has spectacular, beautiful Parisian European architecture, Spanish architecture throughout the city, and quite frankly, it's also got its really difficult, troubled neighborhoods. So
Mhm.
that's one of the physical aspects to it. But it is without a shadow of a doubt, there is something wonderful about the people down here. And I know it's a cliche, oh my God, all the people down here are wonderful, but they are spectacular. They are
Mm.
so friendly, they're very direct, they are always interested in you. They always want to know what's your story. And they're always willing to share their story. The passion that they have for, of course, football here, or soccer, you know, the passion that they
Yeah,
have
man.
for this sport is insane. The passion
Mhm.
that they have for their food, the natural beauty of their city and the country is insane. But one thing that I find really charming about them, they're also very self-critical. So they will be the first ones to say, what the hell are you, an Englishman, doing down here in this part of the world? You know, it's terrible down here. So they have this element
Yeah.
of humility and sense of
Yeah.
humor. In fact, there is a Spanish phrase for Argentina that the Argentines refer to. It's called el culo del mundo, the arse or the ass
Yes.
end of the world.
World.
And
Yeah.
it's like, we're nothing down there. So they have this sense of humility, but also bizarrely this sense of immense pride in
Yeah.
their history. And I think it's they're incredibly political. They are black and white political, and you know they have this thing called la grieta, which is the massive chasm between one type of politics and another type of politics.
Yeah.
But we're already experiencing that in our own countries, aren't we? So,
Everywhere.
but
Yeah.
definitely the biggest draw for me was the people, the friendliness, their pride, humility, and their interest in you as a visitor or resident of their country.
Wow. I love that, man.
Yeah,
That is like there's some places that I've been to and I've experienced that too. I've been lucky to travel a lot, and I'm not going to mention them now, but because I don't want to. But that is like that. Yeah, I've never been to Argentina, and there is just a pull for me to
yeah,
go experience it. So thank you for sharing that. So
yeah.
everybody that goes down there, they're going to need a visa, or they're going to have to look into the visa requirements. Some countries have minimum income requirements, and some countries do not. What can you tell us about
I mean,
nomads or even retirees that want to move down there?
right. So, I mean, you and I met through a couple of the expat pages, and there's a load of more detailed information on there, and I'll give you
Yes.
some of those details. But let me give you the headline. So, like most countries around the world, you come here with and you arrive with a 90-day tourist visa. It's not a tourist.
Yes.
I mean, some countries need a visa. I don't think the
Yep.
US does. I know the UK doesn't. You come here, you got 90 days on the clock as a tourist, and then in theory, that's it. Off you
Right.
go. Now, lots of people then do a visa run to Uruguay. It's a 20-minute boat ride. And then you come back the same day. And then you get some grumpy Argentine immigration officer going, oh, really? Really? Okay, 90 days more. They
Sure.
give you
Yeah.
another 90 days. That's no longer recommended. But what is absolutely factual in the Constitution of Argentina is that everybody is welcome and nobody can be kicked out unless, of course, they misbehave, quite rightly. So what does that mean in reality? Overstay your visa. I've got friends who are living in Argentina for 2, 3, 4 years with no visa except their, that their now expired tourist allocation of 90 days. You just when you next go to leave the country and you're flying back to the States or you're flying to Chile for your holiday, you just pay a fine, like $50, $100. No
Okay.
dramas, no questions,
Interesting.
nothing.
And it doesn't
And then
prevent you from returning.
no, not at all, not at all. Now, there's lots of conspiracy theories on these websites. Oh, I heard my friend was refused entry. It's nonsense. If people have been refused entry, it's not a big criminal drama. I mean, imagine being refused entry to the US or the UK. That's a big red mark on your passport, and you're never going back in. You might have a bad day with an immigration officer. It's nothing serious. It's nothing serious. You can get over it.
Yeah.
But it's very rare. The key is try not to do, obviously, don't break the laws because that'll get you kicked out. But also, don't do these silly visa runs. They don't like that. There's an Argentine immigration lawyer on one of these websites, and he said, look, if you stay in Argentina for 2 years, you can get a passport. So, don't worry about this. Don't worry about this at all. It's very unworryable. There's no need to worry about this.
Even if you're living illegally and say your 90 days expire and that you stay in Argentina for 2 years, you can apply for an Argentine passport?
100%. Now, listen, we all use the word overstaying illegally, because you and I are from the UK, US. It's not illegal.
Yeah. Okay.
It's just it's expired, which, if we overstayed in the US, UK, it would be illegal. You would now be an illegal overstayer.
Yes.
It's not illegal here. It's just, okay, you've broken the rules, but here they're a bit like, okay, rules are meant to be broken. But you can definitely get a passport after 2 years. No problem. So going back to trying to do it properly through official channels. So there's a couple of ways. There's definitely the jubilados, being a retiree, a pensioner. What I did is called rentista, which basically means I have a house in England. It generates income. I do a whole process, getting records stamped and translated and all that kind of stuff. And eventually, there's no questions asked. I just need to present evidence that I have these documents, this rent coming in. It's called it's a passive income from outside Argentina. So it's not work. And then after 3 years of temporary renewing those visas, I got a permanent one. So I'm now a permanent resident because I own a house in England.
Okay.
You can do the same, obviously, from wherever you are in the world. So if you have a passive income, it could be rent, dividend. And then there's a separate visa route for retirees, pensions. I think things are changing, but up until this new president came in, the general headline figure was around about $1,500 to $2,000 per month required. So you need to evidence that. And again, it has to be passive. It can't be a job. So those are those kind of, if you like, not investment visa, but passive income visas.
Mm-hmm.
Then you've got a digital nomad visa. Quite frankly, don't know anything about that. I think people generally just say, "Oh, can't be bothered doing that," because that's there's a bit of bureaucracy there. You have to get your, so let's say you're a digital nomad. You're working for an American company. Your American boss has to send down the contracts. You have to get it translated and stuff. Just overstay. And the nomad visa is only a year anyway, so just overstay.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
So you have, is it a rentista visa?
Yeah.
Is that what it's called? Rentista?
Yeah. So rent, ISTA, rentista. So I am a renter. I earn rental income.
Okay. And you're saying the minimum income that you believe is between 1,500 and 2,000 per month.
It was definitely in that zone.
Okay.
Up until December. So it was around about this. This is one for your listeners to understand. It's 5 times what the minimum wage per month is in Argentina. So
Okay.
that tells you that the minimum wage in Argentina is around about 300 to 400 full time,
Sure.
300 to 400 bucks.
Yeah.
Things might evolve. That is a massive, massive, massive increase in what it compared to what it was before.
Yeah.
Before it was like 1,000 to 1,200.
Yeah. That's great information. All right.
Yeah.
Thanks for that. Well, let's dive into rents. People need to find a place to live.
Yep.
And what do rents start out in this amazing city? Usually in a large city like that, that's very similar to like London or New York.
Yeah.
You know, you need to have deep pockets to be able to live there.
No, it's a fascinating thing here. I mean, and you know, the range of rents around here are ridiculous. But let me give you some perspective from a an expat immigrant. So the typical neighborhoods that expats or foreigners, us northern hemisphere immigrants is the correct word, come to in BA is a neighborhood, a large neighborhood called Palermo.
Palermo,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then you've got a neighborhood where I live, which is called Chacarita. These are all neighborhoods, all together in the center, in the city. But it's away. When I say in the city, it's away from the city center, downtown, where the banking sector is, where the industry is. This is like in the neighborhoods, but it's a dense neighborhood where you have a concentration of shops, bars, nightclubs, restaurants, concert venues. So it's not in the city center downtown, but that doesn't matter because you've still got all the fun stuff. That's where all the fun stuff is. Okay. So what are rents looking like? I'm going to just give you the headline and we'll go into the detail.
Okay.
Anything from $500 a month to $1,500 a month.
Okay.
Okay.
And these are
Now,
in the most desirable neighborhoods where all the cafes, pubs, walk everywhere, pretty,
absolutely.
very pretty. These are
Yeah,
those neighborhoods.
absolutely.
Okay.
Now, of course, there are, if you wish, there are $2,000, $3,000 apartments, you know, with all the mod cons or with, you know, gold-plated bathrooms like Donald Trump, whatever, you know, I joke. But there are spectacularly luxurious neighborhoods and apartments. But if you've got $1,500 to spend on a rent, you're going to get a secure, clean, modcon building. Could be in a tower block with a pool on the roof and a barbecue on the roof with a
Yeah.
security guard. And then if you're looking for something a bit more humble, at 500 to $1,000, then yeah, it might be what's called here a monoambiente, which is basically a studio, but modern, clean. And then I live here in an older traditional building which has 6 apartments, and there's a 7th apartment which the 6 owners here own together, and they rent that out in our Airbnb for about $500, $600 a month. One bedroom, kitchen, courtyard, in a nice neighborhood with coffee shops and bars, with transport connections. So you have a range of options. You've got Airbnb, you've got Zona Prop you mentioned before.
Yeah.
And you know, you've got, just to be clear, as you'd expect from a city, you've got good landlords and you've got landlords who will they were gangsters who are awful human beings. But that happens in New York, it happens in London. So you've got to learn how to filter out the good from the bad and the ugly.
Yeah.
Airbnb is always a safe-ish bet because you have controls, you know, you have complaints mechanisms. A lot of people come to BA, they start with Airbnb because they know it's a safe mechanism. And then eventually when they learn the ropes down here, they might start looking for things which are a bit cheaper.
I was exploring a bit of real estate in Buenos Aires, and somebody mentioned San Telmo in La Boca. And La Boca is really interesting area, is very colorful area for La Boca. But can you, if you move outside of those 2 areas that you mentioned, Palermo especially, can people still find stuff $200, $300, $400 in Buenos Aires?
I don't think you get two, 300, 400 for an apartment for yourself. You'll certainly get that for shared, you know, for young people who want to get some roommates. You know, you might
Okay.
get a good room in a 3-4 bedroomed apartment share. I I think if you're paying $200-300 for an apartment on your own in a more challenging neighborhood, a more humble neighborhood,
Gotcha.
La
Okay.
Boca, La Boca is famous for its beauty and its colors and its football club and also its high crime rate.
Okay.
Now, as a gringo, you gotta be careful down in La Boca.
Yeah.
You really do. San Telmo is lovely. San Telmo is lovely. It's beautiful, but it's also edgy in terms of crime, late night crime. You got to for me, I would live in San Telmo once I'd graduated from Palermo and I knew the ropes better. I knew what to do late at night. It's a
Hmm.
dangerous city at night. I don't want to scare people, but you've got to be smart about how you move through the city
Hmm.
uh, in certain neighborhoods.
Okay. All right, great. Okay, so as far as like these rents starting 500 to 1500, do they include utilities or is typically utilities separate?
I would say the cheaper your rent is, the more likely that the utilities will be on top. Let me tell you what's going on here, because again, it's fascinating due to the change in presidency. But it's such a heavily subsidized sector of the economy. So at the moment, in this 2-bedroom apartment where I am now, let's go through gas, electricity, water, like the local tax for taking your trash away, internet. And on top of that, we have a car. So car insurance and various other costs associated with fixed costs. Between my wife and I, we're paying $60 a month for all of it.
Wow.
Yeah. Now stop there. Yippee. Brilliant. Yeah. Now, all of that stuff is incredibly heavily subsidized. And again, the president is ripping off the band-aid on subsidies. We would expect some of those costs, like the gas, electricity, at least, to go up by a factor of 5. So
Hmm.
breaking those costs down now, I think our gas and electricity bill per month is about $10. So we might go from a whopping $10 a month to a terrifying amount of 50, $60 a month.
Can any expat experience that kind of low utility bill per month that moves down there?
All of us, all of
All
us,
everybody.
because these prices, and this is not a free market down here. There's two electricity companies. One's called Edenor Sur, in other words, it owns the south. The other's called Edenor Nor, it owns the north. There's no competition on electricity and gas. None, zero, zero,
Okay.
zero. So
Wow.
these have been heavily subsidized for 4, 5, 6 years, maybe longer. The current president wants to get rid of those things, apart from the poorest people. So when
Mhm.
I would say an expat coming down here who expects to pay for their utilities should budget for gas, electricity in the region of about 50, $60
Okay.
for, for
That
the
would
two
be
of them.
that's still really cheap per
I
month.
mean, it's peanuts, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
peanuts.
How about like Wi-Fi and cell down there?
So Wi-Fi, so our home Wi-Fi, yeah, I mean, there's promotions galore. I've just signed up to one here. It's currently $5 a month, and the promotion will end and it'll become 25. And
Okay.
then what they'll do is they'll just layer in the increases and increase as much as you can. You ring them up. We have two internet lines in here just to try and, we both work online. It happens a lot that, your internet will go down. Having a backup line is useful. So the other line, we're paying about $30 a month. They tried to charge us 60 a month. We rang them up and said, "Hey, we're cancelling," and they just went, "Okay, we'll." It's a bit of a game. You have to ring them up every 6 months and say, "Hey, we're cancelling," because there is competition for telecoms down here, which is good. So you can jump from one supplier to another reasonably easily. So again, if you want a full cost for internet, I'd say budget for 50, which isn't
Okay.
that cheap, I guess.
Is that
But
include, are you including cell phone with that or no?
no. So
Okay.
cell phone,
So about
cell phone
$50 for Wi-Fi.
maximum. And that's if
Okay.
you're lazy and don't shop around. That's if you're lazy, you don't call them up.
Yeah.
And that's if you're lazy and you don't change every 6 months.
That,
Right, my cell phone plan is, oh my God, what do I pay? I'm paying $3 or $4 a month for
Oh,
gigabytes
wow.
that I just don't use.
So let's dive into to groceries. So how costly are groceries down there, and what do you think you budget per month
Yeah.
for groceries?
So there's a bad news message here, and that is dollar equivalent prices of stuff has just doubled in 3 or 4 months.
Okay.
Um, and that is because number one, he has liberated the exchange rate, so it's now not a fake high exchange rate for the peso. It's now more aligned to where the market thinks it should be. That means imports are now ridiculously expensive.
Okay.
Um, so, and there's other changes is implemented on import and export controls in the march to become a liberal market economy. But there's baby steps, it takes the time. And as he has said to everyone, things will get a lot worse before they get better. And I believe
Hmm.
that.
Hmm.
So I reckon I'm spending between two of us, I've already spent like $100 on fruit and veg at the grocery store. I spent $100 on meat, good quality meat, and then maybe about 200 to 300 bucks on what I would call like your groceries, your tins, your packets, your non-food, your toilet roll.
Hmm.
Down here is
Hmm.
probably twice as expensive as it is in the West. No one knows why. It's
Yeah.
insane. It's $4 for 4 rolls. Um, seafood. I've just bought a kilogram bag of prawns. So that's like 2 pounds of prawns, 15, $16. I have no
Hmm.
idea if that's expensive or not.
Hmm.
So what does that add up to? A good $500 between two of us. Yeah,
Okay.
so far this month.
So about 500 a month, maybe somebody single could get by on 250, 200.
I would say, yeah, let's just double check those. Chino, yeah, seafood and cotto. So yeah, yeah, I'd say I would be budgeting if I were a single chap coming down here. I'd say stick 300 in the budget for going to the shops to buy daily stuff,
Okay.
and more, of course, if you tend to stay in.
Hmm.
And also more because we're buying this is grass fed meat. It's not local butcher stuff.
There, yeah.
These are good quality stuff. But these prices have become a lot higher in the last few months. And I think they'll stay like that until the end of this year. And I'm hoping that next year they'll go back down.
Hmm.
So, and what have I spent recently on, can I just have a side check for you?
Sure.
Clothes, what are called durable products down here, clothes,
Mhm.
furniture, what else you got? Your fridges and freezers, white goods, whatever you call them, insanely expensive.
Hmm.
And if you want to try and save money down here, you need to buy local branded stuff, and it's really bad quality.
Yeah.
Your fridge that you buy for $300 down here will probably last 4 years. You buy a
Sure.
Samsung, which will last 10 years, it'll cost you a couple of grand.
It's
You
interesting.
know,
Interesting.
again, hopefully this is like the legacy of the previous regime.
Yeah.
Hopefully these import tariffs will start to fall away. He's definitely stated he wants to do that. But
Hmm.
a lot of Americans come on the expat sub and say, "Hey, I'm bringing what do you call them? When you bring a storage unit, container unit down, is it worth doing?" I'm like,
Right.
well, pack it full of your personal stuff, definitely.
Yeah.
But clothes down here, I bought a pair of Levi's. It's like $100, and
Wow.
they're probably not the imported ones from the US. They're probably like your gray market stuff where they're licensed to make them down here. Expensive.
Wow. Yeah, man.
T-shirt,
I'd stop wearing
t-shirt.
Levi's.
Yeah, t-shirts are pretty much disposable down here. They last a year, and and they're $30. It is really bizarre
Wow.
how expensive and bad quality that sort of stuff is.
That's good information though. Yeah, the last thing I have here, Paul, is healthcare. Everybody wants to know, especially coming from up here in North America, is it affordable? Because as we know in United States, healthcare is outrageously expensive up here. So
Yeah.
what can you tell us about healthcare down there?
So the first thing I am literally today went to a private hospital to do stage 2 of the process of trying to get a health policy, because I haven't bothered for 7 years. I can't be bothered. I'm a typical man. I'll just,
You
oh,
you were
sorry.
you went for what? What was it for?
I'm signing up to a private health insurance policy, and I had to go for a blood test a couple of weeks ago. Today, I had to go for a second test on my shoulder, which I dislocated a few years ago. I had to get an X-ray. So what I'm saying is I'm at the beginning of finding out for myself what's going on with health insurance. However, my wife has a health insurance. I've got a bunch of American friends in their 60s and in 50s and in 40s who have health insurance down here. All of them are saying it's a really, really high quality. They could not be happier with it. And your age is really a massive factor. So they've got two friends now, two Americans, very well heeled, plenty of money, but their policy, they're over 60, their policy, joint policy, has now just gone to $450 a month dollars.
Okay.
And they've said, nah, we're not doing that anymore. Their choice. Now, I don't know what's going on in the United States. My brother lives in the United States in Santa Monica. And I think for him, his wife, and his 13-year-old, 16-year-old kid, I think he would kill for a $450 a month policy.
That was for your friends, and they're a couple, so it's for two of them. $450 for both.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm about to sign up for something which I think is going to cost me $200. Now I'm 51 with no preconditions other than a damaged shoulder, which probably won't. My wife is 45 soon, and she's probably paying $200 a month for a really good quality brand. I've never, I mean, coming from England, I never bothered with health insurance because back then the NHS was good. It's not anymore. I had an operation on private health in England. Other than that, I went through the NHS. So for me, this private health thing is quite new. Everybody's telling me it's absolutely worth it, depending on where you come from in the world. If you're coming from Sweden, which I know your listeners aren't, or your watchers aren't, you'd be thinking, my God, why do I have to pay for health insurance? Coming from the US, you're probably thinking, oh, this is not too bad.
Right.
It's supposed to be very good quality.
So they don't have a public healthcare system down there?
Yes, they do. And again, it's considered to be very, very good quality, but it is absolutely on its knees because of lack of funding.
That's everything, Paul, that we've covered. I mean, is there anything else that you can think of that could be beneficial for the viewers that we haven't discussed about BA, about moving to Buenos Aires? Anything else?
Yeah, I mean, I think I would definitely recommend, for me, there wasn't just a practical side of getting a DNI residency. There was a feeling of connecting to the city, being a part of the city. It even allowed me to vote in the local elections, not the presidential election. So, I feel very emotionally attached to BA, and I feel I get a lot more out of it. I know I'm on the expat forum. I don't consider myself to be an expat. I still very much feel like I'm part of the city and the country. So I would look into what can I do to get a document, become documented. Come down, connect with us locals, as in us local expats, and it's a very welcoming community, I feel. At the risk of stating the obvious, have some headroom in your budget. If you're coming down as a single person, given the numbers I've just said to you, I think 1,500, that's a good economy. That's a good budget for you to have. If your net cash flow income per month is 1,500, you can do well here. You'll have to trim the fat here and there.
Sure.
If you've got $2,000, my headline number, if you've got $2,000, you're going to have your feet up. You're going to be enjoying life.
Well, Paul Curley, thank you so much for taking the time out to share all this on Buenos Aires. I just really enjoyed this.
Yep. My pleasure indeed.
Yeah, man.
If you have any more questions, you come back to me.